Man, if that music doesn't pump you up, I don't really know
What's
what
up?
does.
What's up? What's up?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Joe
How's
Moore Award
everybody
live
doing?
stream. I am Jenny Dell. I'm the lead college football sideline reporter for CBS Sports, joined by my guy, Aaron Taylor. He is the Joe Moore Award team captain. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe below. Click the little button. AT, we are here tonight. It's a big night. We are going to announce the Joe Moore Award semifinalists. So, how many semifinalists do we have and why? Break it down. See what we got.
Well, we've got 10 semifinalists, and every year it's different. It starts between 8 and 14, and that's what it's been historically. And the challenge is every time that we go into a process like this, we really have to figure out how do we start to allow the cream to rise to the top. We started out with 24 honor rollees. There was people all over the place. We had a lot of group of five, and the rule of thumb there is, can we see some of the criteria some of the time? Are there units out there that are all playing to the same standard, really trying to do and affect what it is that their coaches are taught to do and what this award represents? As a reminder, there are 6 criteria: toughness, effort, teamwork, consistency, technique, and finishing. To move from the honor rolls to the semifinalists, it's a jump. And we had 10 that we felt that really kind of embodied what these criteria were on a consistent basis, where we didn't have to struggle and watch film to start to see some of the key criteria show up on a consistent basis.
So you're breaking it down game by game, really looking at every little detail. We're going to be announcing here live for everyone the Joe Moore Award semifinalists. The next step, who could possibly take home that massive, and I mean massive award at the end of the season. For all you watching, again, do not forget you can comment. We'll be answering any questions that you may have. I'm following along in the chat right now, so we can pin your comments as well. We can put it on the screen, answer your questions live. AT, the first question comes from me. I'm curious to know what you and the committee have noticed from O-lines in general this season. Kind of give me the state of the union.
Yeah, well, the state of the offensive line play, unfortunately, if you're a fan of the position or just a regular college football fan or a fan of the NFL, is not trending in the right direction. The state of offensive line play across the board, both on the college side and the NFL side, is heading down. So I want to walk people through kind of some of the things that we've been seeing as we break down film, some of the things we hear from coaches both on the NFL level, but also on the collegiate level, and try to paint a picture to explain why we're starting to see what it is we're seeing, because even at the highest levels, play is starting to come down, and it's getting harder and harder to find those things that really started this award, which were fundamentals and physicality. That's what launched this award, and unfortunately, that's getting harder and harder to find. The good news is, and we'll hammer this all night, and when the guys jump on and we go through team by team, you really start to see this. It's not impossible to find. It's just getting harder to find. Randy Cross, longtime NFL guy, college football Hall of Famer, he said it the best. He said, offensive line play is starting to look like sumo wrestling with helmets on. Guys are grabbing and wrestling and not really refined, and they're not taking the shots and being as physical and looking for work, as we like to say in this O-line business, as well as they have over the years. So there are a lot of things that are affecting this. Most notably, it's the portal and NIL. And the portal churn really destroys this 2 or 3 year window that it takes to develop good offensive lines. I often like to say that the offensive line is the most skilled position in football, because we're blocking dudes that are just as strong as us, but are quite a bit more athletic. So we have to develop the skills and the fundamentals to be able to retreat slowly and give ground intentionally and be able to come off the ball and move a man from point A to point B against his will in the run game. So when you have transients, when you have guys coming in for 1, maybe 2 years only, it's really hard for them to get used to, acclimated to playing to the dudes next to them. The offensive line coaches don't really know those guys as well. Some report to us that it's harder to coach them hard because they don't have that relationship and that trust, and it really makes it difficult. So you add to that, to the fact that what happens immediately after the season, 2023, Washington wins and earns the award. Within 48 hours, there's not a player in that O-line room that was on that team that competed for the national championship, because some went to Alabama, some were getting poached by other schools, and it was just an instant vaporization of the chemistry and the cohesion. And it's taken that Washington program a couple years to start to get things back. And that just breaks the linear chain of what it takes. So I want to show some data and present some anyway that kind of that demonstrates what this is. You can take a look at these numbers. The points per game a decade ago were a little bit higher than they are now. You look at the total points per game, it's starting to come for this. One of which is that drives are down. Teams aren't getting near as many drives as they were before because of the clock rule changes. Yards before contact in 2016 were 2.8 yards per carry before contact. Now it's 1.9. That's a 16.7 reduction in the amount of space that the offensive linemen are giving the running back before they're hit and make contact. Over the last 3 years, yards before carry have come down and caused a problem. So we look at these different metrics and these different numbers. You add to that the completion percentage over the last decade is up almost 7%. What we believe is happening there is that offenses are using throws to the perimeter as extensions of the run game. And those are the things that are starting to replace the fact that it's becoming harder and harder to run the football. The average number of drives in the last decade down 11%. So there's just less opportunities. You add that to the fact that you have RPOs, which are really PROs, pass run options. What happens is when the play's called and the offensive line doesn't think that it's a run and they know it's going to get thrown, they're not coming off the ball as hard. So those real reps in games don't count. The flip side of that is when they block it up well, but it's thrown instead of handed off. There's frustration and exasperation we see in guys throwing up their hands because it's blocked beautifully. And coaches report to us that guys get frustrated, and that's also affecting the reps that they have and kind of their mindset. The NIL piece of that, speaking of mindset, it's like rookie syndrome, except now you're 18, 19 years old. A lot of these O-linemen are getting $400,000, $500,000 per year. They shut it down. They're also feeling a little bit of stress and pressure from their family because they're the breadwinner. And you start to add all these things up, and it's not significant, but it's heading the wrong direction. So it becomes harder and harder. Here's something that's interesting. 2016 was the only year that we had a national champion in the college football playoff era that wasn't at least a Joe Moore Award semifinalist. And that meant that the Clemson Tigers in 2016 were finding ways to win without physical dominating offensive lines. When you look at Alabama, when you look at Georgia, you look at the Ohio States, the Notre Dames, you look at the Texas Techs of the world, I'm wondering if we're starting to see a game that's trending towards that direction where teams are winning almost despite their offensive line play instead of because of it. And again, these are small and subtle changes, but part of the challenges of being young, of being injured, of being hurt, of the transfer portal and having new faces is making it harder and harder for these offensive line coaches to coach their players the way that they need to be able to get that production. So all is not lost, though, because
I don't know.
Mike Golic Jr., baby, who's going to tell us that we did
Mike Golic Jr. joining us now. Can you,
some of
Mike,
that toughness that represents our position?
Yeah, before we get into just more of the topics that we need to discuss, I feel like that was a little doom and gloom, AT. I understand, like, you got to talk about the O-line play and the fact that things have changed, but it's not going to get better anytime soon. I mean, the transfer portal's not going anywhere. NIL's not going anywhere. So, Mike, give us something optimistic, something positive about these teams we're about to talk about.
Well, I think that is, the part of it is when everything happens like that and some of the trends work against this position, right? We saw this on the NFL level after the 2011 CBA. You had less practice time on the field for guys at a position that, like AT said, is incredibly skilled and is fundamentally driven. But the good news is, when you do see the ball go through the basket, you do see a unit that goes out there and embodies the toughness, the effort, the strain, the finish that these groups do. It really shines through, and it gives these units a chance to separate themselves from the pack. And so I think we're seeing, to AT's point, there are going to be some teams that are able to overcome this with great skill talent. But I think you look up and down, even the top 25 right now, and there's a lot of teams, maybe some of the teams you don't normally expect, that I think are here because their offensive offensive line gives them a chance week in and week out.
AT is going to be back in a little bit, but before we do move on and talk more about football, last time we were on here, we had a discussion about hot dogs randomly because that's
Yes.
food always is a topic of discussion, and we wanted to put up another poll question because that's fun. And I think the poll question for today, since I just had some pizza, is for everyone watching at home. Please, we want you to vote on this. Does pineapple belong on pizza? Mike, real quick, I just want to hear your take on it.
Oh, absolutely. Listen,
okay, good.
I don't think you get to be a big guy in the trenches by turning down work when it comes to food. So if pineapple's on the pizza on the table, I'm pulling a slice every day, twice on Sunday.
But are you ordering it that way?
It wouldn't probably be my first, second, or third choice on the pizza, but I like a little sweet mixed in there with the savory sometimes. It's fun texture.
So when my husband, Will Middlebrooks, who used to play for the Boston Red Sox, we would have some late nights after games and we would be back at the hotel. You got to order some Domino's, just not giving like a shout out, but kind of whatever pizza was around. We always got pepperoni and pineapple every time. So where Jonathan, you're saying no. I don't know who you are, Jonathan, but I'm watching you. I'm interested to hear what other people have to say about that. Please cast your vote below. I also see there's a Hawkeyes fan here. I was at the Iowa game last week. Holy moly. That one was intense. All right. Let's get back to some football now. We'll keep discussing this pineapple pizza situation throughout the night. But and AT he'll be back at some point. So it's time to reveal our first group of teams tonight. We're going to start with the ACC. So 2 teams to reveal as semifinalists. Let's start with Duke. What did you see from that team?
Yes, congratulations to the Duke Blue Devils. Jeff Nord, their offensive line coach, phenomenal job that they've done this year. We talk about the criteria for this award all the times, the thing that we're looking for, and the things that shine through for Duke, the teamwork, the effort, the technique, and the consistency. And I think that especially being a group that you can rely on week in and week out the way they do. Now, high-level performers, they've got that. Brian Parker II was a midseason All-American from a couple of different outlets there. Justin Pickett up front's a team captain. You love to see the leadership from that group. You look statistically, 10th nationally in expected points average per design rush by a running back, 18th nationally in yards before contact per rush, and 16th nationally in yards per play. We knew about the quarterback coming into this offense, but turning them on, there are some teams you have to watch, some teams you get to watch. Duke's a team you get to watch. They see things so well together in pass protection, tight double teams. They work together. We're 5 fat guys that have to hang out. We don't all smell great. We got to love each other. And this group, you can tell, cares about each other because the way they go and help each other out. I always say O-line's the art of knowing where to give and receive help. And I think this group does that about as well as any unit we've watched in the country. They're airtight. They give every play a chance. It's clean. And again, seeing the picture, 5 guys through one set of eyes, especially in pass protection, was an area I thought this group really excelled. So an incredibly deserving unit.
Congratulations to Duke. Now a semifinalist. We got one more team from the ACC, and that will be, drum roll, please.
Georgia Tech. Congratulations to Georgia Tech, their coach, Deep Wade. The job they've done. I mean, Georgia Tech and Haynes King, who's a bona fide Heisman candidate, wouldn't be there without that offensive line. I think he's got over 5 100-yard rushing games this season. And no doubt the quarterback run is an advantage for this unit. But I think the advantage for this group that you look again, the high-end talent up front. Keelan Rutledge was a midseason Outland Award watch list guy, second-team All-American, courtesy of the Athletic on the midseason All-American teams. They've got a great toughness up front. No surprise considering who their head coach is in Brent Key. They're well-versed in outside zone. They're going to run and rip as well as any team in college football. But the gap scheme plays they mix in there. The physicality, again, we talk about the traits of the offensive lines that we look for. The teamwork here, effort, technique, consistency, and finish. These guys love to try and dump bodies around the pile. These guys love to get after people in the run game. And we know with this unit, This is a group where there's not a lot of frills. Yeah, Haynes King could throw it all over the yard. Even in their loss most recently, he had over 400 yards of offense on his own. But this is a team that wants to really be masters of the obvious. They'll mix in the motions. They'll mix in some things to keep the defense honest. But they rely on this group up front. 5th in expected points average per design rush, 8th in FBS in yards before contact per rush, and have rushed for at least 147 yards and 1 touchdown in every game they've played this season. So that consistency, the ability for their team to depend on those guys to go out there and set the tone for this group has been awesome to watch all season long.
Consistency is key. That's for sure. All right, Mike, thank you. We're going to let you go for a few minutes. A reminder for everyone, please put those questions in the chat. I am following along right now. I'm seeing if there's anything going on right here. Any Duke fans in the house? That is the question right now. Hot summer day, a little barbecue Hawaiian pizza action. Who says no? Nobody says no. That's what I'm saying. Hoflax 24, is that the name we got going on? I think so. All right. I don't want to get fired. Here we are. All right. So put those questions in the chat below. We're going to continue to answer them. Stick around. We have to announce so many more teams coming through. Let's bring in, and he's already right here, our SEC voting committee chairman, ESPN analyst. We have Cole Kubalik here. Now, it seems like the SEC lines are only getting better as the season rolls on. I don't know if you were on before. You heard AT's rant about how the O-line just in general is struggling. Just overall, your take on O-line play.
I think it's taking us longer to figure things out. And when you don't have that continuity, the guys next to you, Jenny, for 3, 4, 5 years, where you don't have to make the call. You understand what steps the guy next to you is going to take, how long to stay on a combo block, who needs extra help in pass protection with what alignments they're getting from that defense. Now you've been with these guys for 6 months, 3 months. Yeah, it's a limited number of practices that you're going to get physically anyway. And the only way to get good at doing what we do is in full pads against guys full speed trying to make you look bad. That's the reality of it. And we just don't get a ton of that right now. And now you're doing it with new faces, new bodies on an annual basis, and maybe even almost semi-annual basis when you're talking about guys coming in right before fall practice starts. So I've been really impressed with some of these SEC offensive lines, where they were weeks 1, 2, and 3, where they are now, and where it looks like they may be by the end of the season. We've got multiple groups across the league that are playing true freshmen, multiple true freshmen, and that used to be a death sentence. I mean, that used to get you killed in this league if you tried to play guys that young, but some of them are just bigger, badder, and more ready, and some of these SEC offensive lines are going to have a different conversation from beginning to end because they're dealing with a lot of new faces.
It's a lot of young talent out there in the college football realm. Let's start with our first SEC school. And this is a school that I think has just blown everyone away with their play so far this year. And that is Vanderbilt. Take us through their O-line.
Yeah, they have. And there's a couple reasons for this. When we talk about blowing people away, first and foremost, I'm going to give a little credit to my Read and React host Monday nights on the SEC Network, Roman Harper. When we first talked about Vanderbilt at the beginning of the season, and we were going to talk about what makes them different and kind of what separates them, why they're hard to defend. And we usually get 4 plays. And Roman said, hey, I want the last one. Can I have the last one? And I said, sure, I'd love to see you point out why offensive line play is looking good for Vanderbilt. Go for it. Had no idea what he was going to do. And he goes and gets the recruiting picture for Bryce Henderson coming into Vanderbilt. And he's got his jersey tucked up, and he's got these belly tats going from like one side all the way to the other side. He's got his hair down the back of his jersey, and Roman's like, Vandy ain't ever had dudes like that before. And that's the difference. So whether they look different, whether the size is actually different, but I know they play different. And you got to give Jerry Kill a lot of credit too for him coming in. Chris Klanakis, who you go back to some of those Nevada offensive lines under Chris All back in the day, who they used to just run the football like crazy. There's a different demeanor up front in Nashville this season. They were a good offense last year. They're a great offense this year, largely attributed to this offensive line. And I think we actually mentioned last time in the last show we did, they actually flipped their guards and tackles, which was something that schools haven't really done since I was in college. It's almost unthinkable nowadays to ask a guy to play some left guard and some right guard, some left tackle and some right tackle. They do get good help from their tight ends. They have an absolute bulldog at quarterback that will run through brick walls for his teammates. But they are a nasty group, and they love to get after you, and they're going to go downhill in the run game. And it has been very fun to watch just how different the demeanor, the attitude, and the physical presence is of this Vanderbilt offensive line this year, even opposed to last year when they were still pretty good.
It's amazing to watch. It's been really fun to follow their journey. Okay, now it's time to bring in, we have a special guest. Joining us now from Texas A&M University, we have our O-line coach and run game coordinator, Adam Cushing. Coach, thank you for joining us here. This is an honor.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jenny. How are you, Cole?
I'm doing great, Coach. Thanks for being with us.
This is incredible. I would say now is as good of any time to let you know that the Aggies are officially named as a semifinalist for the Joe Moore Award. So congratulations on that, Coach.
Well, thank you so much. It's an incredible honor. Obviously, all the credit goes to the young men. Man, they've gone out there and given everything this year. It's been so much fun to work with them.
So you're there day in, day out. You know everything about your guys. What makes them unique?
You know what, this brotherhood that this group has is really pretty special. Cole, I know you're just talking about the kind of the continuity. You know, you look at this group. We brought in a couple of these guys, right? We've got 7 that play pretty consistently, and we brought a couple in when we got here, a little over a year ago. But the rest of that group has kind of been together, and so for these last 2 years, that whole group has gelled pretty well, and to be very frank, right, this is the day and age. There's a few guys that had some NFL opportunities this offseason and chose to come back with this brotherhood, chose to come back for some unfinished business. And it's pretty special to see 7 guys go out there that can all play, have all started a lot of games at the Power 5 level is pretty impressive. And so for all of those guys to just have each other's back, they don't care who's out there. They don't care who they're next to because they know that they can trust the guy next to them to do the job.
Coach, just one of the things I was going to ask you go directly to is your bench. Like your 6th and 7th men of the year, most offensive line coaches in college football will be extremely jealous of. But how does it make your job a little bit more difficult, be it practice reps, game reps? Because you mentioned that continuity. Like usually the last guys that come off the field in a blowout are the offensive linemen. Like that quarterback and that running back are getting rest. The receivers are done. And all of a sudden it's like 38 seconds left. We might get a couple knees and the second group comes in. But you have legitimate depth with your group right now. How different is that to manage?
I wouldn't say difficult. Certainly, every guy wants to be out there every play, right? And that's fun as a coach. I say it to the guys. I've said it since spring ball. Like I'm going to be spoiled this year. I'm going to, I can look over there and say your turn, right? And some of that is, we've got a nice season going. And all of those guys have gotten in there and gotten meaningful minutes. The part of this game is guys get dinged up here and there, right? Being able to keep some guys healthy. We've been pretty fortunate that throughout the season, guys have stayed pretty healthy. And they've gone out there and competition creates excellence. That's just the reality, right? And if all of them, they love each other, they're brothers, and there's no hard feelings, but they all want to be out there on the field. So it's fun because it makes practice a really competitive environment, and they push each other to be their best versions of themselves.
How much easier is it for you with Coach Elko's mentality on practice, the physicality that has to be there, that has to stay? Because you and I both know it's a lot different than it was 5 years ago, 15 years ago, 25 years ago. But I know Elko, and he's not going to let you guys go long without getting out there and getting after it. And it has to be there if your team's going to actually show that on the field.
Yeah, he's who an O-line coach wants to work for, right? He believes everything begins there. Practice is geared towards being a physical football team, and it's the mentality, and he talks about it in every single game, right? We're going to go as we go up front on both sides of the ball, and this group has embraced it and loves to hear him say it and loves the challenge and wants, every O-lineman's dream is, let's go. It's us, sure. Hand the ball off. Let's do it. So he's certainly exactly what you want to work for.
Is there a part of this season that I don't want to say more difficult, because again, this is a luxury for you, that is maybe a little bit different, a little more complicated with how versatile your offense is? You guys can line up and be a smash mouth football team if you want to, go 3 yards in a cloud of dust, but you got this group of receivers that don't need a lot of space to create explosive plays. And oh, by the way, a quarterback that can leave everybody in the dust and can sit in the pocket and throw the ball. And you got a mobile quarterback in college that was a grinder, that was running the football, calling plays for you, that was doing all kind of crazy stuff. Like, you guys pretty much have everything at your disposal. Has that made your job a little more difficult this year? Has it made it more fun this year? Just give us a little description of how that has been for you.
Yeah, I think it's fun. The weapons we have really are unrivaled around it. You said it. You got all these backs too, that you go out there and every week it seems like a different back's having his best game, right? And Ruben's obviously stepped up big in Lev's absence, but No, it's been fun because there's nobody that they can key in on, right? I mean, we get pretty favorable defenses because you look at the way our offense has been operating with incredible balance, right? They can't put 9 in the box, right? They've got to make sure that KC and Mario and Ashton, those guys outside, are covered, and when they do roll down, Marcel's done a really nice job of taking advantage of it. So I think the biggest thing in Colin, you mentioned Coach Klein. Colin's done an unbelievable job of keeping that balance and maintaining that idea. And I think it's just play to our advantage, right? Let's not be right. Like there's a time to be smash mouth and 3 yards in a cloud of dust, right? But if there's 9 of them in there, right? My math's not great, but I know enough that we ought to put somewhere else, and we've done a really nice job. Marcel's done an unbelievable job of getting the ball where it's supposed to be based on what we're getting.
You mentioned competition earlier and how it brings out greatness. Being able to practice against the individuals on the other side of the ball, number one, I know has to help. But I know good and well there can't be many looks from a pressure standpoint that you guys hadn't seen in practice because of what they're giving you. Some of these things I see them throwing out there in games, I'm like, whew, somebody had to be tested against that before they actually went out there and ran it.
We joke all the time when we look on the sideline and we're like, man, I'm glad it's them dealing with it, not us today, right? If Mike Elko's pressure package, right? I've been fortunate enough, this is year 4 with them now, right? So 4 seasons, but also 4 spring balls, 4 fall camps where, I think you've seen some of that, right? From our guys, we've done a decent job protecting the quarterback and been able to pick up some pressures this year. Our guys certainly have a PhD in what pressure looks like on third down.
Coach, is there anyone on your line that really surprised you so far this year? I mean, we're over halfway through at this point. Is there a certain player that's really just blown you away?
Boy, it wouldn't be fair. I think that the fun one has been Mark Nebu, right? He won our job coming out of fall camp in the 2024 season, and then gets hurt in the opener and misses the entire thing, right? And then comes back and then battles again with, as we talked about, a really, really deep group, battles. And now Mark has played all 3 interior positions for us, right? You've seen Trey go from left tackle into center. You see Deuce Fathery play on both sides. So I don't know that I want to pick one out. I think it's been really fun to see the versatility, and right, you really see those guys. That's been, you talked to Cole a little bit. What's the challenge? They've actually embraced it the other way around. Like, oh, this is cool. I get to, right? Like I get to, again, very candidly, Trey Zune has got an NFL future, right? These guys have NFL futures, and their ability to bump around, right, is going to give them a better chance to be in that top group when they get to the next level. So I don't want to single one out, but boy, it's been this group. It really is a special brotherhood. I've never been around a group like this one.
It's like picking your favorite kid, right?
That's right.
You're not allowed to do that. We do have a question from the chat from Thomas. It says, what unique challenges will South Carolina pose this week to your unit or team?
Yeah, South Carolina is incredibly talented. Obviously, they took it to us pretty good last year, and up front. And to be honest with you, they got the better of us, and so I think our guys are excited about that opportunity, right? I think that we've had this one circled on the calendar a little bit, where like we owe them something, and we're excited for just the opportunity to go out and show that wasn't our style of football. So they've got a defensive end that's going to be a top round pick, and the rest of their front's pretty good too. So I think their front is incredibly talented, as good as a group as we've seen.
All right, Coach, we can't thank you enough for joining us here today. Before I let you go, real quick, yay or nay on pineapple on pizza? Are you for it or against it?
Only grilled pineapple is the only pineapple.
Come on.
It's the only pineapple. I don't like regular pineapple. I'll eat grilled pineapple.
All right. We'll take it. Well, congratulations, Coach. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for the honor. Appreciate
an absolute honor to have you on here. Thank you so much. Congrats.
Thanks. Gig 'em.
I love it. We do have a question here from Tim Hyde, and we'll let you answer this one here. Talk about the portal and losing guys, how it hit the depth. You mentioned multiple guys playing different positions. Do you rotate them during a certain day? What's your take, Cole?
I think you have to, we called it cross training back in the day, and you may not actually be expected to get reps at left tackle, but you're going to get some in practice. You may be the fifth or sixth center, but you're going to get reps there. Center quarterback exchange happens every day, and it's not just the first string, second string guy. It's usually about 5 guys down there because that's an emergency position that you have to have somebody that can at least get that ball back to the quarterback. So I think if you have a veteran who's been around 3, 4, 5 years, all of a sudden you get in spring practice, guy mentally knows everything, physically has seen everything. Go from right tackle, get some reps over at left tackle. You might need to bump down the guard. Maybe in your NFL future is there. Let's just get you some work there and see what that looks like. I think you're seeing more of that. And I think you're seeing more rotation as well. I mean, Coach just talked about there the depth that he has. His is a little bit more on the luxury side. We've seen more teams in the SEC this year, Jenny, that are starting to play some of those guys that don't look exactly like they're ready earlier in games when it's not just 40-0 to try to get them acclimated, to try to get them say, hey, let's see what we got on our hands here, if they can really help us down the road. And at the same time, you're developing some of that depth. So yes, get guys reps at different positions, get guys reps in games earlier, get them number 1 reps in practice a little bit earlier. It only helps your roster because you know what you have, and you're probably going to need them, like Coach said, due to an injury at some point in time anyway.
Only helps your roster, only helps the player as well. Versatility obviously is key. If you can plug and play into a different spot, you are in a good position right there. Cole, thank you so much for all that insight. We're going to bring in Mike Golic Jr. back, the voice of the Big 12 on Turner. Mike, you see the Big 12 weekly, so let's get right into it. Reveal the 2 teams for the conference this year semifinalists. We have number 1.
First up, we have the Cincinnati Bearcats. Yes, we got the Cincinnati Bearcats. You are all over it, as always, JD. Yes, congratulations to Cincinnati, their offensive line coach, Nick Cardwell. I think one of the great surprises of the Big 12 season this year, the run they've been on, obviously, came to an end recently in the win column with the loss against Utah, but what this group has done all year long. Shout out to some of the individual performers. Evan Tengesdal, one of the midseason All-American candidates on this team. Gavin Gerhardt, one of their leaders, the heartbeats of this group at center. And the job that they've done, listen, they've got a quarterback who's a mobile part of this and a run threat. They've got a tight end in Joe Royer, who's a great asset to this team. But this group up front puts in work each and every week. Outside zone, Nick Cardwell, wherever you've seen him, is someone that's excelled at teaching this play in particular. They've allowed 2 sacks on the season so far, this college football season. That's tied for the fewest in the sport. 3rd in rushing success rate, 10th in EPA per design rush. This is a group that has paved the way for guys up front, multiple different schemes. We talk about the things we're looking for: teamwork, consistency, and technique. I talked about this group in the midseason honor roll team. It takes courage to go out there and play the position as aggressively if you need to. Going back to some of AT's points, part of some of what we see around the sport is because guys are afraid of getting beat. Coaches are coaching because their jobs are on the line, and they want these guys to go out here and be able to account for situations. And so instead, to teach technique the way that Nick Cardwell does, to run your hat to the point on outside zone, to throw hands aggressively and make pass protection a violent endeavor each and every play, that takes guts to do because there's a chance you miss. There's a chance you swing and get beat and look bad on that play. These guys have a confidence in what they've been taught that's clear on tape. It's why they've been one of the most consistent teams in the Big 12. It's why they've been a 3-time Big 12 Offensive Line of the Week, and it's why they're a Joe Moore Award semifinalist now.
Love it. So Cincinnati's on the list. And last but not least, when it comes to the Big 12, we have
Utah. Congratulations to the Utes. And this group, their offensive line coach, Jim Harding, they came into the year with a lot of fanfare because of the NFL potential of the offensive line in front of them. Spencer Fano, Caleb Lamu, 2 of the more highly touted offensive tackle prospects in this draft class, and they just happened to both play on the same unit. Spencer was a midseason All-American candidate for them. And this team has a commitment to that. I know people look at the offense and they see, the quarterback involved in the run game and all the moving parts and the bells and whistles of the motion, but it all happens, all that window dressing, because you can count on that group up front to go play a physical, effort-filled, nasty brand of football. They routinely put a sixth offensive lineman on the field to show you their dedication to getting downhill. This is a big, thick, nasty group. Second nationally in yards before contact per rush, fourth in EPA per rush, sixth nationally. And I think this is key when we look for gotta have it situations we talk about in the Joe Moore Award voting committee, where it's obvious to everyone. We always talked in our O-line room. We want to be ready for when everyone in the stadium knows what's going to happen. If it's third and long and we're going to drop back and pass, we want to be able to handle you there. And if it's third and short, fourth and short, when our team needs us, we want to be able to go and get that yard for you consistently. And you look at Utah, tied for sixth nationally in third and short, converting 82% of those third and short opportunities into first downs for their team. And so this is a group, Devin Dampier has been an awesome story. We know about the defense. Kyle Whittingham has been renowned for that standard over the years. He's also had a great offensive line there more often than not. And I know this staff believes this is one of the best, if not the best, that they've had in a good long time. And so it's earned them a place in the Joe Moore Award semifinalist list.
Got a little comment here. Every week, Spencer Fano does something just plainly absurd, it seems. So fun to watch.
He is. And I know he's one of those guys that's easy to sell to people because NFL fans are very interested in him coming to protect for their team, and college football fans get treated to. I encourage everyone, go turn on. Utah played Texas Tech earlier in the season. That Texas Tech defensive front everyone saw go out there and have a great day against BYU. That was a battle all along the lines of scrimmage. And when you see great on great like that, it's the first place that scouts are going to go. It's one of the first games I went to when studying this team. And it's great to watch how these guys responded to that incredible challenge. Don't let the final score fool you. That game was a one-score game going into the fourth quarter, and it's largely because of the job those guys did up front.
So impressive. All right, we're going to bring in another Joe Moore Award voting committee member, Jeff Schwartz, joining us now for the first time on our little YouTube podcast thing we got going on here. What do we call it?
Live stream.
Live
stream. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Called. We got the host of the Smarter Than You podcast.
Yes.
So Jeff, first we need to know the question of the day.
Yeah.
Pineapple on pizza.
Okay. So I think you should be allowed to eat whatever you want, however you want it. Totally fine. I'm not gonna like yuck your yum. I'm not gonna tell you can't do it. However, you shouldn't. It doesn't make any sense to put pineapple on pizza. Would you eat pineapple with cheese? No. Would you eat it with like red sauce? No. You wouldn't put it with anything else on the pizza. So I don't get the flavor profile with pizza. Now, if you like it, I love the story, right? Late night after a baseball game, you order yourself pizza. Great. I'm not gonna. I'm in New York City right now. I wouldn't go get a pizza and ask for pineapple. So I just wouldn't do it. It's okay.
I feel like you did just yuck my yum, even though you said
a little
you weren't
bit
going to do that. But I'm just saying.
I'm not going to do it.
It's not for you. Okay. Right now, 50% of voters are saying absolutely they would put pineapple on pizza. You mentioned, would you put pineapple and cheese? It's like a charcuterie board. Like you do strawberries with cheese. Like what's the difference? Or jam, a nice fig jam.
That's not pineapple.
I like Elite Mentals who said Team Pineapple. I like my pizza like my personality, juicy, complicated, and misunderstood. That's a bar.
There you go. That works. That's a good way to describe it. Absolutely. Fair enough.
Yes.
That's pretty much me as well. All right. Well, let's actually talk about some football now that we went through that. We're going to stay in your wheelhouse. We're going to talk about the Big Ten, a conference that, I'm very familiar with. And it seems like for us, the best just keeps getting better. I know it's starting this off like a little struggle with the O-line, but we've seen some pretty impressive O-line play this season. We're going to reveal the 4 teams from the Big Ten, then we're going to kind of work our way through them. So we have Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, and Oregon. Let's start with your alma mater. I saw earlier you said go Ducks.
Yes.
Real quick in there when I mentioned I was at the Iowa game. Talk to me about that Ducks O-line.
Yeah. So look, Aaron Taylor is absolutely right with the state of offensive lines as a whole, but I think the Big Ten is sort of raising it up a little bit this season. And when you look at a lot of these offensive lines, starting with Oregon, it is that old school vibe where Oregon is looking to punish their opponents, right? They're looking to go downfield and make that extra block. They're looking to put guys in the ground. I think you saw it Saturday. they took it personally. They took personally that they had heard heading into the Iowa game that Iowa is a certain way. It's hard to win there. Can you do it? And then you come out with a bunch of guys hurt and it's pouring rain. You can't really throw the ball. And they rushed for 260 yards and dominated that game. And even in other games, Indiana game, it wasn't pretty, but they rushed for a lot of yards. I mean, sack yards takes out of that, obviously. And they're doing that with basically 3.5 new guys, right? The right tackle's new, the left guard's new, the left tackle is new, and they're one of the best teams in the country in explosive play rate from runs, even excluding a couple quarterback runs. They're one of the best teams in pressure rate and pass play. I don't think we value pass protection enough as we talk about some of these teams. Talk a lot about the run blocking. Oregon excels in pass protection. We saw that at the very end of the Iowa game, and they played some tough units so far this season. Indiana and Iowa, even a team like Wisconsin is good up front. They struggled early and play a lot better late. But they're one of the teams when you watch them play, they're making those effort blocks down the field, which is fun to watch.
Did you have any sense of concern towards the end of that game, or were you like, oh, they'll figure this out? Dante will get down the field. We're fine. We've just been rushing all game. Yeah, let's just
I was not very confident. I love my team. I love my Ducks. That 4th and 3 play didn't inspire me very much. And then look, the thing about plays like we saw Dante Moore have is that typically takes a lot of practice. And Oregon just really hasn't been in that spot this season. They played tough road games, but the Penn State game, there wasn't an opportunity for like a 2-minute drill. And in that game, because of the way it was going, they didn't have to really throw the ball at all. And there were opportunities they had, and they converted and whatnot. But that throw he made was incredible. And even in that moment, Dante Moore, I think, dropped back 21 times, wasn't hit one time the entire game. So in those big moments, they stepped up, and that's something that we look at, right? Because it's easy to be good in the easy moments. How good are you in the moments that are very difficult?
Exactly. And you talk about very difficult. I mean, down in the pouring, freezing rain after just a battle of a game. I mean, it was just incredible to watch that. Let's talk about on the flip side. So Iowa played outstanding as well, right?
Yes. And look, there's as offenses have evolved, even from we started the Joe Moore Award 10 years ago, right? The offenses have evolved, and the one that we come back to every year is Iowa, because like it or love it, hate it, whatever you think, like Iowa is Iowa football. They're going to do what they do, and when you put on their film, it's very comfortable. It's under center runs, it's the outside zone. Now, this year they had the mid zone, and they're a physical, violent bunch. It wasn't as pretty against Oregon, but think about this. Everyone knows you're running the football. When you talk about these other teams so far, there's no guarantee they're running the ball in every play. Iowa's out there to run the ball nearly every play, including some of those quarterback runs. Starts with their center, who gets them ID'd right, and those inside 3 guys, they are so violent. They were knocking down Oregon guys. I mean, that was a battle last weekend, and when you watch them play, it feels very familiar. They work together really as a team. They do a great job as a team. When you run a lot of those zone runs, you have to be able to pass off things together as a group, and they do a good job of that. So it was a lot of fun to watch them play. Look, the end result, and this thing about football, right? The end result might not be what you want, but I think the play in between the 60 minutes is what I was expecting from that group up front. And again, everyone knows they're running the football. Like, everyone knows this is what we're doing. And then the times they have to execute, they went 93 yards against one of the better defenses in the country on the last drive of their game to go ahead. When I'm Oregon, I didn't think that was possible against the Oregon defense. So and they protected well. I think he was sacked one time on like a screen, a weird play. Otherwise, he wasn't really hit very much. Their quarterback. So Iowa just embodies, I think, this award.
Elite Mentals just asked, why is a unit like Iowa so consistently good?
Kurt Ferentz.
I was going to say, have you seen the coaching staff there?
It starts from him, right? It starts. But you know the thing about it, and Aaron brought up a good point about like the portal, right? And when you and my thing about sort of how do you build a team is, I think you have to add a couple of additions in the portal, but the base of your group on the offensive line too has to be high school guys you recruit, you develop, and that you mold into what you want. And that's what Iowa does, right? They have these players, and they just build them up, strength, right? Technique. And they get to a point where they're able to play, and they're all sort of the same, and they all buy in. And, you guys were doing, so in the pregame show, you were talking about this long lineage of Iowa guys in the NFL. And like
Yep.
that plays a role when you go to Iowa and you look and you just say like, okay, I can be this guy if I put in the work. You're highlighting Jones, who played defensive tackle for 2 years. Like he looked at those offensive guys and said, I could be those guys if I move to center. Like those things are important in Iowa. So it starts with Kirby. Look, again, you might not like what they do up front, not up front, but on offense. But it is that attitude that gets them close in the games like that. It'll keep them close this weekend against USC. It's that mindset that has built Iowa into this winning factor. They win every year. They win 9 or 10 games every year.
There's a standard there and there's an expectation. And if you are not meeting that standard and expectation, they will find someone that will. It is like a well-oiled machine over there. And then you look at a program like Indiana, who we're going to talk about next, when you just see how that program just completely changed with Cignetti coming in. He brings in all of his guys from James Madison, grabs whoever he can, the best of the best from the transfer portal. And now they're one of the top teams in the country. They have one of the top O-lines. I mean, it's just unbelievable what he's done.
It's very impressive, just an overall holistic program view. But that offensive line, man, it's a group that is so tough, and you could see their effort and their strain to finish and just their want each and every week. And I think, again, back to the big moments, I remember watching Saturday and their center, who's their engine, right? He's their guy to go. In the 2-minute drill, at the end of the game, no timeouts, right? They have to make a play. And they zoomed in on him, just like coaching up his entire offense in the huddle, telling him it's going to be like, you want that from your center. And that's the way they play. They went on the road to Penn State, still a tough place to play, on the road to Iowa, on the road to Oregon. 3 good defensive lines came out with 3 wins. Wasn't always pretty, but that's football. It's not going to be pretty. And their ability to just be really good at what they do, right? They're able to sort through pressures. Teams try to dial up their quarterback. They try to get him on the move, and they're able to sort things out really well. They play, they play really well as a unit, as a group, just seeing sort of everything all together as 5 guys as one. And they're physical. You just you can't get negative plays on them as someone who watch their team try to beat them. They don't do like, they don't have mental mistakes. They don't do dumb things. They don't have like technique errors that cost them a tackle for loss or a sack. They're just a really solid group all together. And it's the way their offense plays. They don't do a ton of offense, but what they do is really well. Same with their offensive line.
Let's talk about an offensive line now, and the last one of the Big Ten that's going to be a semifinalist, and that's the Michigan Wolverines. They've won the award before. What sticks out about their unit this year?
I think what sticks out is their improvement throughout the season, right? They were transitioning to a new young quarterback, and with that comes a different offense at times and a different responsibility up front, where a lot of it does come to the offensive line, especially with some tough road games early on this season, and they were early on sort of boom or bust, right? Where it was a lot of sort of 1-2 yards, then boom, long touchdown run. And we're seeing a lot more consistency from this offensive line. They're doing different things up front now. They used to sort of be like a mash it together and run up the middle and sort of all come together unit. And now they're doing different, outside zone, a little mid zone, a little inside zone. And what we see from them is just constant improvement. That's one thing I love about this award, is that what you did week 1 matters, but we'll count the rest of the season. Like we'll count the whole season, and we'll see if you've gotten better. I think for Michigan, they just improve each and every week to where they're considered now a semifinalist. So I give them credit for continuing to grind on improve from what they saw this season.
It has been a journey watching all of these teams battle it out. It's been fun, especially in the Big Ten. I think now, are we going to bring everyone back? We got Cole back. Let's bring everyone back.
Yeah.
All right, let's bring everyone now. We have the semifinalist spotlight. So this is the semifinalist spotlight presented by Don Joy. And here we have the full list of the 10 semifinalists. Guys, I'm curious, who on this list has really jumped out at you as we kind of review the tape throughout the year? Which team is number 1? Let's start, Mike. We'll go with you first.
I think you heard Jeff talk about it. Like, Iowa looks so similar to what Coach Moore coached. I played for Harry Heastand at Notre Dame, who is obviously a Joe Moore disciple and a guy who coached a Joe Moore Award-winning offensive line. And they do a lot of stuff you recognize. They fire off the ball with violent intent. And I think to Jeff's point, we talk about all the time, one of the big debates around these groups is teams that win because of their offensive line. And that has been the bedrock for that Iowa program in a way that when you turn it on and see guys strain to get their hat play side, guys forcing their backside leg upfield and having hands disappear into the body of a defender. It's really, really impressive stuff.
Cole?
We can't all three say the same team here.
Are we all
going
Iowa?
I love watching Iowa. I love Logan Jones. I love Bo Stevens, but I'll go a little bit of a different direction so it's not complete groupthink here. You and I discussed them a little bit earlier. It's the Vanderbilt Commodores, because not only have they not looked like this last year, the last few years, they've never looked like they look right now. Like, this group is just on a different level than anything we've ever seen in Nashville. They have real nasty about them. I mean, this group started out early in the season. When this committee first got together, I kind of told everybody, hey, this looks like a group of bar bouncers that's just out there trying to throw people around. The technique and the fundamentals might not be super clean, but you're going to want to see what they have to offer. It has cleaned up more and more as the season's gone on. And keep in mind, Jenny, it's a complicated offense. You got RPOs, you have option plays, you have a quarterback that ad-libs a lot. That's not always easy to manage when you think you're right. And yeah, he makes you right a lot more, but sometimes you're wrong because he's leaving outside the other side of the pocket and you thought you had your guy managed, and next thing you know, he's chasing him down. So that group has just been so different. And I thought they had a chance to be better. I didn't think they would have a chance to excel to the level that they have this year and literally wow this committee on a very regular basis the way that they have.
Jeff, what do you think?
Look, I'm going to cape for my team for just a little minute here. They knew what I was doing. They know why they invited me here. Look, there's not a group that we've seen this year that I think gives the effort down the field to make blocks. You can highlight them all through the season of 10, 15, 20 yards downfield, getting guys, hunting guys up, and just the effort from the entire five to buy into that. It's not always pretty in pass protection. There's some issues every now and then, but they've also just taken over games. We haven't passed the ball very much in the last couple of games, and I think their ability to do that has been special. So we'll see if they're able to finish strong. Got a couple tough games coming up, but I think their effort down the field is something to highlight because it just doesn't happen as much in the sport anymore.
I want to go in the same order. This is a semifinal spotlight presented by Don Joy. And answer Thomas's question here. What O-line units have made the most strides since the honor roll? So maybe give us a different angle. Mike, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think going back to one of the units I got to talk about and present for the ACC was looking at a team like Duke, who, AT mentioned the honor roll. When we do that is about teams that flash one or two of the traits or do a couple of things well. And then to see the way that they've gone out here and become a consistent winning force for their team. Like even this past week, yeah, they lose a game to UConn, which is unfortunate for the team, but you'd be hard pressed to go and watch that tape and not come away impressed with the way their offensive line was rolling off the rock. They gave them a chance to win. There was one play in the game that you can really look back on. Unfortunately, it was close to the end where that group even had a hand in some of the negative energy there. And it was just a group that, again, coming back after the midseason honor roll, going back and watching the most recent games, I kept writing plays down where something I like, teamwork, guys working downfield, the tight double teams and everything that stood out about that group. And it was just an overwhelming body of evidence that these guys needed to be here.
Cole?
I'll probably go Utah, a team that I think is dealing with a couple of different things at hand. You got a quarterback that likes to kind of sit back and wait on things in the pocket. That can make life very difficult as a pass protector. They're asked to pull in numerous different ways. Now, I do want to give a little bit of a shout out here because they have a little bit of a bonus in Simi Tuolunga, 5'11", 315-pound. I don't even know what he is. Tight end, bowling ball, fullback, hybrid, H-back, F-back, Z-back, whatever you want to call him. Like, he's awesome to watch, and he helps him a little bit. But the level of difficulty of a lot of the things that they're asked to do, a lot of other offensive lines don't see on a very regular basis. Getting out in space is not always fun for a 315, 320-pound man trying to block a little 180-pound DB that wants no part of you. They're asked to do that on a regular basis, and they excel in it. Pass protection, they don't rely on some of the simpler protections near as often as a lot of the other offensive lines in college football do. So I'll give them some credit for that as well.
All right, Jeff.
No full slide coal for Utah there. They're
not living and dying on that. No, not living on that.
No full slide there. Look, I think it's got to be Michigan, right? Look, they had a tough slate to start. You go to Oklahoma early in the season with a brand new quarterback and a brand new offense, essentially. And then 2 weeks later, I think it was at Nebraska, and that was a game where they had a couple explosive runs, but a lot of like 1 or 2 yard rushes. The consistency they've had now the last month has been impressive to see. It's no longer sort of the hit or miss. It's 4 or 5 yard runs, and they're adding in some new schemes as well. So I think it's got to be Michigan for me as one of these semifinalists that we've seen improve the most throughout the season.
You never know what you're going to expect when you have a true freshman under center. So it's been impressive what they've been able to do. All right, guys, this has been so much fun. Before we go, don't forget to like, subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. Folks that are watching right now, helps all of us at Joe Moore Award. So please, please, please like and subscribe. Oh, we got a question before I have to ask the pineapple question and get the final results here. Mike, what was the go-to snack food when you played?
Oh, it was Uncrustables and Rice Krispie treats are the currency and love language of snack time in most offensive line rooms in most schools. We got a ton of literature now. The Rice Krispie treats, distance athletes love them before everything. Me and my roommate in the hotel the night before used to just sit there, eat them in bed, and throw the wrappers on the floor. So inevitably, someone gets up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and you would just hear that crunch of wrappers on the floor like leaves on the forest floor.
Before bedtime, wow.
Oh yeah,
I was way too fat to do that before bedtime, buddy. That would be a bad news bears for me if I did that. Good for you, man. I love that.
I was one of the guys trying to gain weight, so I needed all the help I could get.
I think Uncrustables needs to somehow sponsor sideline reporters, because I talked to all of them, Fox, ESPN, CBS, NBC. We're all crushing them on the sideline. So I'm just saying.
I live on those things. I actually bought some at the store the other day just because I wanted it. They feel so normal to me now because I eat them on the sideline every weekend.
They feel so,
right?
Right?
I got to have some of those at the house, I feel like.
Yeah, no, I just need it all the time. All right, I have the final results of the Does Pineapple Belong on Pizza? 49% says absolutely. That's what I like to hear. 32% never, can take it or leave it. 19%. Does that equal 100? I don't think so, but we're not going to worry about that. The math ain't mathing, but all I know is that absolutely is what won there. So the people have spoken. I'm just going to say that we should all put pineapple on our pizza. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in today. The live announcement of the 2025 Joe Moore Award semifinalists. Again, like, subscribe. Please join us for all of these fun little evenings, and be sure to catch our weekly show, Trench Life. It's Thursdays right here on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great night, and congrats to all the semifinalists.